Chapter 31-24. Chubatian roared in disbelief. His eyes widened in disbelief. Lu Ming could use the war god strike too? He was dumbfounded. Whoosh! Lu Ming's war god strike pierced towards Chubatian's war god strike with his spear. The long spear whistled through the air. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Chubatian finally reacted and controlled his war god to block the attack. Boom! The two huge war gods collided, creating a shockwave. However, as soon as the two war gods collided, cracks began to appear on Chubatian's war god. The cracks spread all over his body like a spider web. Then, with a bang, it exploded. Puff! Chubatian spat out a mouthful of blood as he retreated. Die! Lu Ming shouted softly. The god of combat in the sky moved his arm and the long spear pierced toward Chubatian. In an instant, he traversed the space and charged toward Chubatian. Ah! Chubatian screamed in fear as he was enveloped by the cold killing intent. Stop! At this moment, a figure dashed out from the edge of the fighting stage with shocking speed. Before the figure arrived, a terrifying spear gleam, as large as a mountain, swept toward the god of combat that Lu Ming had condensed. The violent shockwave engulfed the war god, causing it to shake violently. Then, it exploded, turning into energy and disappearing. In the next moment, a young man in black armor appeared in front of Chubatian. A violent aura surged out from him like a tidal wave. A divine king. The young man was a divine king and he was a genius. The divine power that he possessed was of the divine grade. Lu Ming could see that his opponent was in the first layer of the divine king realm. As expected, my understanding of the war god strike isn't enough, Lu Ming muttered, not showing the slightest fear. Although a first layer of the divine king realm was much stronger than a half-step divine king, Lu Ming wasn't afraid of him. The reason why his war god was destroyed by his opponent's spear was because he didn't understand the war god strike well enough. Lu Ming, I, Chu Wei, will be your opponent, said the genius of the first king god layer coldly. His aura was wild as he displayed the prestige of a king god realm warrior. You're shameless. You're a genius at the divine king realm. How dare you attack a heavenly god? Wu Ming roared. Chu Wei's face turned slightly red. An exalted divine king actually challenged a 7th-level celestial deity existence. It was indeed somewhat embarrassing. However, he had to kill Lu Ming today. Otherwise, wouldn't their war god clan be looked down upon by others? How glorious was the war god clan in the past? Over the years, they had continuously declined. They no longer had their former glory. But in this generation, the war god family was filled with geniuses. Peerless geniuses were popping up like bamboo shoots after the rain. This made the people of the war god family ambitious. They wanted to regain their former glory. At this time, how could they be suppressed by others? Therefore, even though he knew it would be embarrassing, he still had to attack and kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you killed a genius of my war god clan. You must die. Chu Wei roared. His intention was clear. This wasn't an ordinary duel. It was for revenge. In this case, he had a reason to attack. Shameless is shameless. What's the point of finding excuses? Wu Yu shouted. Humph. Chu Wei snorted and ignored Wu Ming and Wu Yu. He took a step forward and a powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Obviously, he wanted to force Lu Ming to fight. Come. At this moment, Lu Ming's calm voice was heard. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with a powerful battle intent. Lu Ming had seen many ordinary divine kings and had fought with them many times. However, he had never fought against a genius divine king with divine force. He was looking forward to it. Lu Ming's voice silenced the scene. No one had expected that Lu Ming would dare to accept the challenge. Kill. Chu Wei no longer hesitated and attacked. He waved his spear and a huge spear light pressed down on Lu Ming. He had the intention to crush Lu Ming into meat paste. The powerful divine force of a divine king surged out and its power was terrifying. A mighty force spread out in all directions. Divine dragon aspect. Lu Ming whispered and displayed the divine dragon aspect art. The divine force in his body went berserk and rushed out crazily. Roar, roar, roar. 9-clawed dragon formed in the sky. In an instant, 5 9-clawed dragons were formed. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they rushed towards Chu Wei. Boom, boom. The 9-clawed dragon collided with Chu Wei's spear light and exploded, turning into a vast energy that rushed out in all directions. You can't stop me. Die. Chu Wei shouted. His divine force surged and the spear light continued to press down on Lu Ming. Is that so? Although the 5 9-clawed dragon were defeated, Lu Ming's face was still calm. He continued to throw out punches. The dragon roars sounded again, shaking the heavens and earth. In the next moment, more than 10 9-clawed dragon appeared in the sky. Yes, there were 15 of them. After more than 150 years of cultivation and under the guidance of Blue Merchant, Lu Ming's understanding of the divine dragon aspect art had improved greatly. Now, he could form 15 divine dragon aspects in one breath. 15 huge 9-clawed dragon covered the sky. Their bodies were winding and their dragon aura was shocking. Many of the onlookers narrowed their eyes and exclaimed, "There are so many 9-clawed dragon. What kind of secret technique is this? What a shocking secret technique." While the crowd was still in shock, the 15 9-clawed dragon had already rushed towards Chu Wei. The spear light that Chu Wei had condensed began to vibrate intensely. Then, with a loud boom, it exploded. After destroying Chu Wei's spear light, the remaining 9-clawed dragon continued to pounce on Chu Wei. Chu Wei's face changed and he shouted, "Strike of the war god." The armor on his body shone brightly and a huge war god appeared in the sky. It held a spear and looked mighty. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The spear in the war god's hand trembled, and countless spear shadows burst forth, one after another, towards the 9-clawed divine dragon. Chu Wei had used the ultimate move of the war god clan. Even though Chu Wei hadn't awakened his origin god force yet, his awakening rate had already reached 90%. On top of that, he was a god king, so the might of his god of war strike was far greater than that of Chu Batian and Chu Batian. The sky above the fighting stage was boiling. Waves of energy spread out as if they were going to devour everything. The two fought intensely and it was hard to determine the winner. A divine king is indeed much stronger than a half-step divine king. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. 4 geniuses like Chu Batian and Chu Baxing, their battle prowess could definitely suppress ordinary cultivators of the first layer of the godly king realm. However, they weren't a match for geniuses like Chu Wei. Lu Ming could easily defeat Chu Batian, but it would not be easy for him to defeat Chu Wei. Chapter 31-25. Lu Ming could easily defeat Chu Batian, but it wouldn't be so easy to deal with Chu Wei. Of course, this was because Lu Ming hadn't transformed into his ancient god body. Once he did, it would be easy to deal with Chu Wei. However, Lu Ming didn't want to use his ancient god body for the time being. Ice shackles. With a thought, Lu Ming sent out 9 ice shackles towards Chu Wei like 9 long snakes. The 9 ice shackles easily passed through the waves of energy and swept towards Chu Wei. Before the ice shackles reached him, the terrifying chill had already caused Chu Wei's expression to change. War god gallop. Chu Wei roared as his spear changed, emitting an even more terrifying wave of energy. Another god of war appeared in the sky. However, this god of war was slightly different from the previous one. This war god was riding on a huge war horse. With this, the war god's movements were much more agile. As for Chu Wei himself, he stood on top of the war god's head. The war horse stepped on the air, causing the sky to rumble. Like a phantom, it flashed out of the range of the ice shackles and charged towards Lu Ming. Whoosh! A huge spear light pierced towards Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. The war god's strike can be used like this. It's really strange. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The 9 ice chains rapidly retracted and formed a wall in front of him. The spear gleam bombarded the wall formed by the ice chains and was successfully blocked. As Lu Ming's cultivation increased, the ice shackles became stronger and stronger. Their defensive power also increased. After blocking the attack, the ice shackles moved and immediately counterattacked, wrapping around Chu Wei. At the same time, Lu Ming punched out with both his fists. Another 15 nine-clawed dragon condensed in the sky and pounced towards Chu Wei from all directions, blocking his path of retreat. Moon slashing. After unleashing the divine dragon Dharma idol, Lu Ming immediately took out his long spear and unleashed the move Moon beheading, chopping down towards Chu Wei. A crescent-shaped spear light slashed towards Chu Wei. At the same time, Lu Ming displayed 3 kinds of attacking methods, his attacks raining down like a storm. Chu Wei's expression was extremely grave. He also used all of his means to resist with all his strength. He first swung away the ice chains, but the 9-clawed dragon followed up with another attack. When he blocked the 9-clawed dragon's attack, the moon slash struck again. In the end, Chu Wei wasn't able to block the moon slashing strike, and the strike landed on the war god's head. The war god shook violently before exploding. The surging energy rushed towards Chu Wei, causing him to retreat tens of thousands of meters and cough up a mouthful of blood. Kill. Lu Ming did not give Chu Wei the slightest chance to catch his breath. He rushed forward with his spear, and in an instant, 3 crescent-shaped spear lights slashed towards Chu Wei. Chu Wei was injured and could not use much strength at all. Even if he tried his best, it was useless. He barely blocked 2 of the crescent-shaped spear lights, but he could not block the third one. The third crescent-shaped spear light slashed Chu Wei's body, sending him flying out of the battle stage. Boom! Chu Wei crashed heavily on the ground and slid on the ground for tens of thousands of meters, dragging a deep trench in the ground. Chu Wei lay in the trench, coughing up blood continuously. His aura was extremely weak. The battle armor on his body had been split open, almost splitting him in half. Chu Wei, defeated miserably. The scene was silent. Many people who saw Lu Ming fight for the first time were really shocked. Lu Ming's battle strength was too strong. He was only a 7th-level heavenly god, but he defeated Chu Wei. Chu Wei was not an ordinary divine king, but a genius divine king who controlled divine power. Yet, he was still no match for Lu Ming. Such battle prowess could be said to be terrifying. Phew, terrifying, truly terrifying. Many people heaved a sigh of relief, their faces full of shock. 9 Sabers, Heavenly King Residence, Battle God Family. You can't even withstand a single blow. Lu Ming looked down at Chu Wei and said indifferently. This made Chu Wei and Chu Baishan's faces turn ugly. Humiliation. This was a great humiliation. The Battle God family had many geniuses in this generation. They wanted to rise up, but they were defeated by Lu Ming consecutively. This was undoubtedly a great blow to the Battle God family's reputation. Arrogant brat, do you think you can insult the Battle God family? You're courting death. A cold rebuke was heard from afar. Then, a group of youths stepped on the air and came over. There were more than 20 youths in this group. Most of them carried battle sabers on their backs. Their auras were as sharp as battle sabers. It's the 9 Sabers, Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. Someone exclaimed. Obviously, more geniuses from the 9 Sabers, Heavenly King Residence had arrived. The geniuses from the 9 Sabers, Heavenly King Residence who were nearby were only a small part of the group. Now, more of them had arrived. The geniuses from the 9 Sabers, Heavenly King Residence were very fast. In a few breaths' time, they had arrived. Swoosh. One of the youths was very domineering. He slashed his saber at Lu Ming from afar. A huge energy saber spanned hundreds of miles and slashed at Lu Ming violently. Rumble. The air in the sky churned with a terrifying howl as if it was going to split the area in half. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed slightly. His opponent had slashed at him from so far away. However, the power of this slash made Lu Ming's face turn solemn. This was because the power of this slash had surpassed Chu Wei's strongest attack. Divine Dragon Dharma form. Lu Ming shouted and quickly waved his hands. Dragon roars could be heard as 15 9-clawed dragons appeared and charged forward. At the same time, 9 ice chains flew out and formed a layer of defense in front of Lu Ming. Meanwhile, a layer of 9-layered golden armor appeared on Lu Ming's body. Bam! 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 In the next moment, there was a violent explosion. The 15 nine-clawed dragons collapsed and were defeated one by one. Then, the energy saber slashed at the defensive wall formed by the ice chains. Buzz buzz buzz, sparks flew and the ice chains shook. In the end, a crack appeared on the ice chains. The terrifying saber chi passed through the crack and slashed at the 9-layered golden armor. Dong! Lu Ming's body shook violently and he retreated until he reached the edge of the fighting ring. Origin divine power factor. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The youth who had attacked just now was also a first heaven divine king. However, he had awakened the origin divine power factor and his combat strength was much stronger than Chu Wei's. It's the origin divine power factor, everyone exclaimed when they felt the aura of the youth. Swoosh! The youth took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. A cold aura shrouded Lu Ming. How dare you humiliate the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence and the War God family? Who gave you the courage? How arrogant! Come, let's fight. The young man shouted coldly. He was arrogant and domineering. He did not take Lu Ming seriously at all. Although Lu Ming was strong, he was confident that he could easily crush Lu Ming. Chapter 31-26. A Divine King Elite who has awakened the origin divine force factor. Lu Ming murmured as a strong battle intent emanated from his body. Lu Ming finally felt some pressure from such a person. Chu Baxing, Chu Batian, and the others were only half-step divine kings. Their battle prowess was already terrifying after awakening the origin divine force factor. They could even defeat divine king experts who were a whole realm higher. Once someone like him reached the divine king realm, his battle prowess would skyrocket. The rate of increase would be extremely shocking. They were all in the first layer of the divine king realm. Such a person could easily kill Chu Wei. Lu Ming was not afraid. Instead, he was excited. His battle prowess had also increased tremendously over the years. He wanted to fight with all his might. Come, let me see your strength. Don't disappoint me like the previous 2. Lu Ming said. Many people's eyelids twitched when they heard that. Lu Ming was really bold. He wanted to challenge his opponent. Could it be that Lu Ming could really fight such a person? That would be too terrifying. Although Lu Ming could defeat Chu Wei, he's definitely not a match for this person. The difference between an awakened origin divine force factor and an awakened origin divine force factor is too big. That's right. It's too difficult to bridge the gap. Many people shook their heads secretly. They did not think that Lu Ming could defeat his opponent. Ha ha ha, a 7th layer heavenly god dares to talk to me like that. Good, good, good. This trip to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence has broadened my horizons. Come, let's see how many moves you can take from me. The genius from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence laughed arrogantly. Then, his body shook and the battle saber on his back was unsheathed. A mighty saber aura soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. Seeing that his opponent was about to attack, Lu Ming circulated the divine force in his body. He wanted to transform into his ancient god body to fight against his opponent. A divine king who has awakened the origin divine force factor wants to fight against a 7th layer heavenly god. Does the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residence think that the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence is a pushover? At this moment, a voice came from afar. Then, a group of people flew over. In the next moment, a group of young geniuses appeared in the sky. The person in the lead was dressed in luxurious clothes. He had a handsome appearance and a dignified aura emanated from him as he stood there. It's the 3rd prince. Greetings to the 3rd prince. Many people bowed when they saw him. It turned out that this person was the son of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King. He was also the 3rd prince of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion, 9 Extinction Mu. He was also a peerless genius. On the fighting ring, the young man with a saber on his back said coldly. He stared at the 3rd prince like 2 divine sabers. Divine kings. A terrifying aura burst out from the 3rd prince's body, which was filled with an ancient desolation aura. The powerful aura pushed away the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence's genius. 9 Extinction Mu, you better not interfere. This man killed a genius of the War God clan in Starry Crescent Ancient City. He must die. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. What a joke. In Star Crescent Ancient City, it's common for people to fight for treasures and kill each other. In the past, many people from my 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace died in your hands. Are you saying that you're allowed to kill our people and we're not allowed to kill yours? The third prince retorted. He killed the son of a big shot from the War God clan. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. I don't care who he is. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you. The third prince was very domineering. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and touched his nose. He wanted to fight with the third prince to test his strength. He did not expect the third prince to interfere and he would not get what he wanted. However, Lu Ming did not mind. If he wanted to make a move, there were many opponents. 9 Extinction Mu, are you trying to bully me with your numbers? The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's genius said coldly. As soon as he said that, the other geniuses from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence unleashed their auras. Most of them were at the Divine King realm. With so many people's auras gathered together, it was shocking. So what if we have more people? Remember, this is the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence. In the next moment, the young geniuses who came with the third prince also unleashed their auras. We're willing to fight with the third prince. Then, some of the people who were watching the fight shouted and unleashed their auras. We're willing to fight with the third prince. Then, more people followed suit and shouted. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, thousands of auras shot up to the sky and pressed down on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. With so many people unleashing their auras at the same time, it was too shocking. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's auras were crushed. Their bodies shook violently and their faces turned pale. What are you doing? Are you trying to start a war with the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence? One of the geniuses from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence shouted. Let's start a war. I'm not afraid of you. The third prince shouted coldly. He was domineering and did not back down. His aura continued to press down on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses. At the same time, the other people's auras gathered together and pressed down on the other party. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence's geniuses trembled violently as if they were about to be forced to their knees. Their faces flushed red as they resisted with all their might. However, if this continued, they would be injured sooner or later. They might even be forced to their knees. They were all top geniuses. If they were forced to their knees, it would be a great humiliation to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Residence. Boom. At this moment, there seemed to be an explosion in the sky. A terrifying aura came crashing down like a tidal wave. This aura was too terrifying. It was mighty and filled with supreme aura. It was high up in the sky and could not be resisted. In front of this aura, everyone was like an ant. As the aura pressed down, everyone's aura collapsed. They were as vulnerable as tofu. 9 Extinction Mu, Lu Ming, and most of the people at the scene trembled violently as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled and they spat out a mouthful of blood. The aura of a Sir God, Bone Demon roared in his consciousness. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. He could also feel that this was definitely the aura of a Sir God. Lu Ming had sensed Sikong Nan's aura and the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's aura. The aura now was very similar to Sikong Nan and the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's aura. It was on the same level. In fact, it was even more terrifying than Sikong Nan. It was more profound and unfathomable. The others also looked horrified. There were so many people at the scene, but they were easily suppressed by the other party. The person who came was definitely a terrifying expert. Chapter 31:27. The aura in the sky continued to spread out, as if an incomparably terrifying beast was about to appear. Then, a figure appeared in the sky. The figure was shrouded in divine light and his appearance could not be seen clearly. However, he gave off a majestic feeling. All of the aura was being emitted from this person's body. Sky King, it's the Sky King. The sky prides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence were overjoyed. Sky King, it's the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The people at the scene were shocked. That person was the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King had personally taken action. Nine Sabers, what are you doing? You dare to attack my people in my territory? Do you think I'm easy to deal with? At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. No one knew where this voice came from, but it suddenly spread in all directions. As the voice sounded, a mysterious aura also spread out. The terrifying aura on the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King was neutralized by the aura. Lu Ming, Nine Extinction Mu, and the others felt the pressure on them lessen as they let out a long sigh. They felt that their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. Facing the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King, they were under too much pressure, as if they were facing a disaster at any time. It was an unbearable feeling. Sir God. Lu Ming clenched his fists and once again felt the power of a Sir God. In front of such an expert, he could not even resist. He could not even muster up the thought of resisting. The difference was too great. Father. At this moment, the third prince shouted in surprise. It's the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. Many people were shocked. In the next moment, the space above everyone's head rippled and a figure appeared. Lu Ming recognized the figure at a glance. It was the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. Lu Ming was a little speechless. He did not expect that the fight between him and a few sky prides of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence would attract the attention of the Nine Extinction Heavenly King and the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. The two Heavenly Kings were important figures even in the Taishu dynasty. Nine Extinction, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King whispered as his eyes emitted a dazzling light. A terrifying aura rushed towards the Nine Extinction Heavenly King. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King also unleashed his aura. Boom! The two auras collided, causing the space to tremble violently. It was as if the entire starry sky was trembling violently. What shocked everyone the most was their hearts. Many people revealed looks of anticipation and apprehension. After obtaining the two Heavenly Kings, a great battle would break out today. The battle between Heavenly Kings would definitely be earth-shattering and destructive. Nine Blades, what do you want to do by coming to my Nine Absolute Heavenly King mansion? If you really want to fight with me, then let's fight. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King's voice resounded throughout the entire place, sonorous and powerful. Juju, what are you nervous about? The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King grinned. He quickly withdrew his aura and became as still as a rock. Not a single trace of aura leaked out. At the same time, the divine light on his body disappeared, revealing his true appearance. It was a middle-aged man with a square face. His face was chiseled like a knife. When he opened and closed his eyes, it was as if there were terrifying saber lights bursting out. This was the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King. Nine Blades, what are you trying to do? The Nine Extinction Heavenly King asked again. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's strength was unfathomable. If they were to fight, he was not confident of winning. As for the Nine Extinction Heavenly King mansion, other than him, no one was a match for the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King mansion. That was why the other party dared to bring people to the Nine Extinction Heavenly King mansion. I brought people here for a simple reason. The day of the Great Void Imperial Family's Holy Court is approaching. Wouldn't it be great to bring these sky prides here and let them spar with each other? The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King smiled. On top of that, I've prepared a huge gift for you this time, the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King added. Big gift? What gift? The Nine Extinction Heavenly King rode. Would the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King bring a big gift? He seriously doubted it. Everyone, please take a look. The Nine Sabers' Heavenly King smiled. Then, his palm glowed and a pitch-black orb that kept spinning appeared in his hand. Everyone's eyes naturally fell on the orb. What's that? Many people were at a loss. However, a small number of people's pupils contracted as if they had thought of something. Could this be the legendary Divine Power Source Orb? An elder exclaimed, his voice trembling. What? Divine Power Source Orb? Impossible. How could the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King be willing to take out the Divine Power Source Orb? The scene was noisy and boisterous. It was unbelievable. Those who had awakened the divine power origin factor could awaken the origin source secret technique from the divine power origin factor. This secret technique was hidden in the divine power origin factor. It was a secret technique that the primordial divine spirit controlled. This secret technique was mysterious and unfathomable with terrifying power. It was easy to use and could accompany a person for a lifetime. Its value was immeasurable. However, the probability of awakening it was extremely low. It was so low that it was shocking. Moreover, there was no pattern. It purely depended on one's talent. Some people could awaken the origin source secret technique after one awakening of the divine power origin factor. Some people could only awaken the origin source secret technique after 2 awakenings. Some people could only awaken the origin source secret technique after 3 awakenings. Moreover, among 10,000 people who had awakened the divine power origin factor, there might not even be one who could awaken the origin source secret technique. It was too difficult. However, there were all kinds of strange things in the boundless universe. There would always be all kinds of wonderful treasures. The divine power origin pearl was a kind of supreme treasure. It could help a person to understand the divine power origin factor's origin source secret technique with a success rate as high as 90%. This was almost equivalent to being able to understand an origin source secret technique as long as one obtained a divine power origin pearl. This value was too precious. It was even more attractive to the younger generation of sky prides who were ambitious to fight for supremacy. However, there were too few divine power origin pearls. It was not something that could be obtained with a high cultivation base or a high status. It required luck and could only be found by chance. Unexpectedly, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King had a divine power origin pearl. Many people's eyes were burning. If the divine power origin pearl was not in the Nine Sabers Heavenly King's hands, the others would have opened fire. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King also looked surprised and said, "Nine Sabers, what is your purpose for taking out the divine power origin pearl?" "It's very simple. I plan to hold an event to let the sky prides of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents and the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents compete. Whoever can get the divine power origin pearl will have it. The others are not allowed to snatch it," the Nine Sabers Heavenly King said. As soon as this was said, everyone was shocked. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King wanted to take out the divine power origin pearl and let the younger generation compete for it. Whoever could snatch it would have it. Even the sky prides of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents were surprised. The sky prides of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents and the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residents had burning eyes. Especially those sky prides who had awakened the divine power origin factor, their eyes were burning. Chapter 31-28. The Great Void Imperial Family's Sacred Institute would be held soon. Once he obtained the divine power source bead and comprehended the origin divine power, his strength would definitely increase greatly. At that time, when the Sacred Academy of the Great Void Imperial Family was held, they would definitely be able to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. They would be able to suppress all the heroes and seize an extremely high position. This would be extremely important to their future prospects. It would be strange if he wasn't tempted. Nine Blades, I didn't expect you to be so willing to spend so much. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King's face was gloomy. I have to avenge what happened back then. The Nine Blades Heavenly King sneered. Nine Extinction Heavenly King's eyes were cold. He already knew Nine Sabers Heavenly King's plan. When they were young, the Nine Extremities Heavenly King had killed the Nine Sabers Heavenly King's younger brother. Since then, the two parties had formed a deadly feud. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King had always wanted to take revenge. For countless years, the two Heavenly Kings' manners had been fighting each other endlessly. Last time, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King had bribed Seekong Nan to secretly help the Dark Ice Clan steal the Nine Ju Divine Crystal. His purpose was to arouse suspicion and jealousy among the major families in the Nine Ju Heavenly King Palace and trigger conflicts between the major worlds. This would cause a war between the major families and weaken the overall strength of the Nine Ju Heavenly King Palace. Once the Nine Absolute Heavenly King Mansion's strength was weakened to a certain extent, the 9 Sabres Heavenly King could lead the army to attack the 9 Absolute Heavenly King mansion. Unfortunately, their plan had been seen through last time, and it didn't have the corresponding effect. This time, the 9 Sabres Heavenly King had the same goal. With the divine power source bead as the bait, all the aristocratic families would fight over it. The divine power source bead was too precious. In order to obtain it, all the geniuses would definitely fight with their lives on the line. It was normal for them to kill each other. When that happens, once many Heaven's favorites fall, it will aggravate the conflicts between the clans and trigger a war between the clans. This was the 9 Blades Heavenly King's plan. How do you want to proceed? 9 Extinction Heavenly King asked. It's very simple. This time, I will set up a huge array. All the participating Sky Prides will enter the array. I will place the divine power source bead on a puppet. The Sky Prides who enter the array will obtain the divine power source bead and stay in the array for a month. After a month, the divine power source bead will belong to whoever still has it. No one else is allowed to snatch it. Otherwise, they will be my enemy. Of course, the cultivation of the geniuses who are allowed to enter the formation is limited as well. The highest cultivation level is in the first layer of the God King realm. The 9 Blades Heavenly King explained the rules. The young geniuses with cultivation bases above the first King God realm pulled a long face. Warriors above the first King God realm lost the qualification to compete for the divine power source bead. 9 Blades, don't go overboard, the 9 Extinction Heavenly King said with a gloomy expression. With the 9 Sabres Heavenly King's arrangement, one could imagine that those prodigies who had entered the formation would definitely engage in a fierce battle. At that time, the prodigies of the various aristocratic families would kill each other, which might really trigger conflicts. What? Juju, could it be that you don't want the geniuses below you to fight for the divine power source pearl? Could it be that you want to directly rob them of their opportunities? If you have the ability, take out a divine power source pearl and give it to your subordinate. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King sneered. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King mansion was speechless. The divine power source orb was something that could only be chanced upon and not sought. It wasn't something that could be obtained just because one's cultivation was high or one's status was high. He didn't have it on him either. 9 Blades Heavenly King's scheme was not a conspiracy, but an overt one. Even if he knew the other party's goal, he could not refuse. Once he refused and did not allow the prodigies of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion to participate, those prodigies would definitely have a lot of complaints and his deterrence would be greatly reduced. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's lips curled into a cold smile. He knew that the 9 Blades Heavenly King could only agree and not refuse. Alright, since 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion is willing to put in so much effort, the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion will accept the divine power source pearl as a gift. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's voice resounded throughout the entire place. This made many prodigies excited and eager to give it a try. Alright, I will now find a place to set up the formation. The competition will begin 7 days later. If you want to participate, feel free to sign up. The 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion said. Having said that, the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion's eyes scanned the surroundings and landed on Lu Ming in the end. A cold light flashed in his eyes. You are Lu Ming? The 9 Blades Heavenly King asked. Many people were surprised. The 9 Blades Heavenly King actually knew Lu Ming. Being stared at by the 9 Blades Heavenly King, Lu Ming felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he was being stared at by a terrifying giant beast, as if he would be devoured at any time. Lu Ming felt a great sense of danger. Taking a deep breath, Lu Ming calmed himself down and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "That's right. I am Lu Ming. Very good. You are indeed a young hero." The 9 Blades Heavenly King smiled faintly, then ignored Lu Ming and left with the people of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's eyes flickered a few times. He then took a step forward and left the place. The scene was in an uproar. The news about the divine power source pearl spread like a storm throughout the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion, causing a great commotion. A divine power source pearl could allow a peerless prodigy who had awakened the origin source divine power to take another step forward and become a true top prodigy of the Taishu dynasty. The attraction was fatal. Countless prodigies woke up from their seclusion and planned to participate in the competition. Lu Ming, are you going to participate? Wu Ming asked Lu Ming. Of course. Lu Ming smiled. Although he had a feeling that he would be targeted by the people of the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion once he participated, he did not want to miss out on the Divine Power Source Pearl. Once he obtained the Divine Power Source Pearl, he would be able to comprehend an origin source secret skill, which would be of great help to him. Not long after, the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion and the Nine Blades Heavenly King Mansion sent people to register. Those who wanted to participate in the competition, as long as their cultivation was in the first layer of the Divine King realm or below, were eligible to participate. In an instant, a large number of people had signed up. Even some of the youths who did not have a high cultivation base were hoping for a fluke. Although the competition for the Divine Power Source Pearl depended on one's strength, it also depended on one's luck. If one was lucky enough to find the Divine Power Source Pearl and find a place to hide for a month, the Divine Power Source Pearl would be his. It was only a month, and it would be over soon. Lu Ming also signed up. However, he did not let Cho Moon sign up. During this period, Cho Moon had already touched the edge of the Divine King realm and was in seclusion to break through to the Divine King realm. He believed that she would succeed soon. After signing up, Lu Ming returned to his residence to cultivate and wait patiently. Time flew by, and soon, 7 days had passed. 7 days later, countless prodigies gathered in the Heavenly King district. Other than the prodigies who were participating in the competition for the Divine Power Source Pearl, there were many others who were there to watch. There was a sea of people, and it was impossible to count how many people there were. Lu Ming saw the Wu clan's patriarch, the Jin clan's patriarch, the Qin clan's patriarch, the Winged clan's patriarch, and others in the crowd. The patriarchs of these major families had shown up. Chapter 31-29. Buzz. Ripples appeared in the void and a figure appeared in the sky. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King had arrived. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King stood motionless in the sky and waited quietly. Not long after, streaks of rainbow light flew over from another direction. The people from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence had arrived. The person leading them was the Nine Sabers Heavenly King. Behind him, other than 2 old men, the rest were young people. There were more than 100 young people and each of them had a dignified appearance. They were all giants among men. 9 Sabers, everyone is here. Let's begin. The Nine Extinction Heavenly King looked at the 9 Sabers Heavenly King. Just what I want. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King smiled faintly and then waved his hand. Suddenly, dense runes appeared in the open space in front of them. These runes formed a large formation that enveloped a large expanse of empty space within it. The open space was very wide and included mountains and lakes. There were all kinds of terrains. This was the large formation that the 9 Sabers Heavenly King had set up over the past 7 days. After the large formation appeared, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand again and a huge tiger appeared in the sky. This ferocious tiger was not a living creature of flesh and blood, but a puppet. First layer Divine King realm. Many people were shocked and felt that the tiger puppet's aura was equivalent to a first layer Divine King realm. After taking out the tiger puppet, the Divine Power Source orb appeared in the 9 Sabers Heavenly King's hand. Seeing the Divine Power Source orb, many people were excited. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand and the Divine Power Source orb flew out and flew towards the tiger puppet's forehead. It then embedded itself in the tiger puppet's forehead. Roar. The tiger puppet roared and stepped into the air. Its body turned into a ray of light and flew towards the large formation and disappeared into it. Look, when the tiger puppet disappeared into the large formation, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King waved his hand again and a large image appeared in the sky. In this image, one could clearly see that the tiger puppet from before was sprinting through a forest. This image can show what's going on inside the formation. We can see what's going on inside. In a moment, you all will enter the formation and chase after that puppet. As long as you obtain the divine power source bead and stay in the formation for a month, the divine power source bead will be yours. The 9 Sabers Heavenly King announced. Then, he looked at the 9 Extinction Heavenly King and said, 9 Extinction, what do you think? You don't have any objections, right? No. The 9 Extinction Heavenly King said indifferently. All right, let's begin. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's voice reverberated throughout the entire area. Let's go tilde. As soon as the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion finished speaking, a young man soared into the sky and charged towards the formation. Whoosh, whoosh. One figure after another flew toward the formation. There were at least a few hundred of them. These people were all geniuses of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King mansion. Some of them were at the first heaven of the Divine King realm, but there were also half-step Divine Kings and even 9th heaven God realm experts. These people were all hoping for a fluke. The area covered by the formation was too large, and the territory was vast. If he was lucky and managed to get the divine power source bead, he could find a place to hide. After a month, the divine power source bead would be his. Many people had the same thought. Hundreds of sky prides flew into the range of the formation and disappeared. But in the next moment, the huge picture in the sky showed the young man who had entered. After the young men entered the formation, they spread out and flew in different directions. Then, more and more young geniuses flew toward the formation. Some of them were existences with astonishing strength. However, the sky prides of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion were not in a hurry to go forward. They looked relaxed and sneered. Let's go tilde. At this moment, Lu Ming moved and charged toward the formation, disappearing into it. This kid has ruined my plan. If you see him in the formation, kill him for me. The 9 Blades Heavenly King's voice rang in the ears of the sky prides of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion. Sikong Nan's plan was going well, but it was ruined by Lu Ming in the end. He had no choice but to come to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King mansion personally and use the divine power source bead to carry out his plan. This made him extremely unhappy. Don't worry, Heavenly King. I will bring his head to you. That kid is mine. Instantly, the sky prides of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion spoke, their eyes emitting cold killing intent. Go. The 9 Blades Heavenly King waved his hand, and more than 100 sky prides of the 9 Blades Heavenly King mansion flew forward into the formation. Lu Ming entered the formation and appeared on top of a mountain. As expected of a formation set up by a Heavenly King. It's like a world within the formation. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He randomly chose a direction and flew forward. The formation covered a vast area. He had no idea where the tiger puppet had gone, so he could only fly and try his luck. Outside the formation, in the sky, the huge picture was constantly changing, projecting the scene within the formation. The picture switched to the tiger puppet for a while, then to the other sky prides. A day passed quickly. In the beginning, the sky prides were just randomly searching and trying their luck. But a day later, someone approached the tiger puppet. It's the sky prides of the Shu family. Someone exclaimed softly, revealing an excited expression. They were the elites of the Shu family. In the picture, there were 5 young men who were very close to the tiger puppet. These 5 young men were the sky prides of the Shu family. The elites of the Shu family were naturally happy. As long as the Shu family's sky prides encountered the tiger puppet, they could kill it and obtain the divine power source bead. Then, they could hide the divine power source bead and find a place to hide. As long as they could hide for a month, the divine power source bead would belong to the Shu family's sky prides. With the divine power source bead, the Shu family would give birth to a peerless sky pride who had awakened the secret art of origin. When the Taishu imperial family's holy institute convened, they would definitely shine. When the Taishu imperial family's holy institute convened, even the sage emperor of the Taishu dynasty would personally come. As long as they performed well and caught the sage emperor's eye, their future would be limitless. The other aristocratic families also watched nervously, afraid that the sky prides of the Shu family would encounter the tiger puppet. But in the picture, the sky prides of the Shu family were indeed getting closer and closer to the tiger puppet. I found the tiger puppet. Suddenly, one of the sky prides of the Shu family exclaimed, his eyes burning with passion. Kill. The 5 sky prides of the Shu family were excited. They immediately dashed towards the tiger puppet. Among the 5 sky prides of the Shu family, 3 of them were in the first layer of the King God realm. The other 2 were half-step King God realm sky prides who controlled divine-grade divine power. Killing a first layer of the King God realm was more than enough for them. 5 attacks shot towards the tiger puppet. Roar. The tiger puppet roared as it sensed danger. It jumped up and fled. Chapter 31:30. The tiger puppet tried to escape, but it was still unable to avoid all of the attacks. 2 of the attacks landed on the tiger puppet's body. Boom boom. 2 loud booms were heard as the tiger puppet was sent flying, crashing into a mountain peak. The mountain peak exploded, sending rubble flying everywhere. However, a figure dashed out from the debris, running away. It was the tiger puppet. It had been hit by 2 young geniuses of the first layer of the King God realm, but it didn't seem to be affected. What a strong defense! The young geniuses of the Shu family were surprised. The 2 young geniuses of the first layer of the King God realm had attacked the tiger puppet. Their destructive power was incredible. If an ordinary King God realm cultivator was hit, he would be severely injured, if not killed. However, the tiger puppet didn't seem to be affected at all. One could imagine how strong its defense was. Go after it. The 5 young geniuses of the Shu family chased after it, but the tiger puppet was too fast. The 5 young geniuses of the Shu family couldn't catch up with it. Damn it! The young geniuses of the Shu family shouted. It was a pity. Just a little bit more and the tiger puppet actually managed to escape. The young geniuses of the other families heaved a sigh of relief. The tiger puppet is going to the young geniuses of the Jin family. Suddenly, someone shouted. In the image, the ferocious tiger puppet was running. Not far from the ferocious tiger puppet, there were 6 young men in golden robes. They were the geniuses of the Jin family. Damn it! The young geniuses of the Shu family were annoyed, while the young geniuses of the Jin family were overjoyed. Even the head of the Jin family was happy. The tiger puppet was getting closer and closer to the young geniuses of the Jin family. Finally, the young geniuses of the Jin family noticed the tiger puppet. It's the tiger puppet. Haha, we're lucky. Let's go. The young geniuses of the Jin family were overjoyed. They attacked the tiger puppet one after another. The tiger puppet kept dodging, but there were still a few palm strikes that landed on its body, blowing it away. At this moment, the young geniuses of the Shu family arrived. Not good. Let's go. The prodigy of the Jin family was shocked and continued to fly forward. The prodigies of the Jin and Shu family immediately surrounded the tiger puppet. The tiger puppet shook its body and stood up. It glanced around, but didn't attack. He seemed to have a mind of his own and knew that he could not escape. We were the ones who discovered the tiger puppets. Scram! One of the geniuses of the Jin clan shouted coldly and looked at the people of the Shu family with hostility. You're the ones who should get lost. We were the ones who discovered the tiger puppet first, and we've been chasing after it. A heavenly talent of the Shu family shouted in response. As an aristocratic family, the Shu family was not afraid of the Jin family. You discovered it first. Haha, you really know how to talk. If you don't scram, then don't blame us for being rude. The Jin clan's heaven's favorites said coldly. Their murderous intent emerged. You're welcome. Do you think we're afraid of you? The prodigy of the Shu family also responded strongly. Roar. At this moment, the tiger puppet roared and charged in a certain direction. This was like lighting a fuse. Attack. Kill. The prodigies of the Jin and Shu family attacked at the same time. Wave after wave of attacks blasted towards the tiger puppet. Boom. 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 So many attacks bombarded the tiger puppet's body, and a huge crater appeared on the ground. The tiger puppet was blasted into the crater. However, the tiger puppet's defense was really amazing. So many attacks landed on its body, but it did not break apart. The tiger puppet kept roaring and struggling, trying to escape. Unfortunately, it was suppressed by so many elites and could not move. Boom. Boom. Wave after wave of attacks landed on the tiger puppet's body. At this moment, a young man from the Jin clan had a cold look in his eyes. A golden battle sword flew out from between his eyebrows and slashed towards a young man from the Shu family. The young man from the Shu family was shocked. He hurriedly dodged, but he was still a step too late. A deep sword wound appeared on his body, and he was severely injured. Kill. The young man from the Jin clan roared and continued to attack his opponent. The golden sword that could cut through space made a terrifying sound as it slashed towards the young man from the Shu family. The young man from the Shu family was careless and was severely injured. He could not fight back. He screamed in agony as his body was cut in half, and he died on the spot. A first heaven divine king realm genius was killed just like that. Jin clan, you are despicable. Outside the formation, an elite from the Shu family shouted angrily. His aura surged towards the people from the Jin clan. However, the Jin clan's elite also released his aura, blocking the aura of the Shu family's elite. Despicable? This is a competition for treasures. When competing for treasures, you can use any means. Who asked you guys from the Shu family to be so stupid? An elite from the Jin clan replied coldly. You. The elite from the Shu family was depressed. He glared at the people from the Jin clan. His eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. The 9 extinction heavenly king's face was gloomy. The scene that he was worried about had happened. The geniuses from different worlds would definitely fight to the death for the divine power source bead. This would definitely deepen the hatred and conflict between the families. The 9 extinction heavenly king sneered. This was exactly what he wanted to see. Inside the formation, one of the geniuses from the Shu family was killed. The other geniuses from the Shu family were furious. Damn it! Kill them! Kill these bastards from the Jin clan! The remaining geniuses from the Shu family roared and attacked the young men from the Jin clan. For a moment, the two sides were fighting fiercely. The tiger puppet finally found an opportunity to break out of the encirclement and run away. Damn it! Go after it! When the geniuses from the Jin clan saw the tiger puppet running away, they immediately attacked and repelled the people from the Shu family. Then, they chased after the tiger puppet. Don't even think about running away. The people from the Shu family did not let the Jin clan go. They chased after the tiger puppet. In the blink of an eye, they had chased for tens of thousands of miles. Finally, the tiger puppet encountered the third group of geniuses. It's the tiger puppet, haha. The divine power source bead is ours. A group of 5 young men appeared in front of the tiger puppet. When they saw the tiger puppet, they attacked it and sent it flying. However, they did not break through the tiger puppet's defense. However, the people from the Jin clan and the Shu clan managed to catch up to the tiger puppet and surround it. The Sun family. The eyes of the geniuses from the Jin and Shu family flashed. A group of people appeared behind them. They were from the Sun family. The 3 parties formed a confrontation and surrounded the tiger puppet. The geniuses from the Shu family glared at the people from the Jin family, but they did not make a move. The situation was complicated. It was not the time to make a move. The 3 parties faced each other. For a moment, none of them made a move. Chapter 31-31. None of the 3 parties made a move. This ferocious tiger puppet's defense is extremely shocking. It won't be easy to break it open. How about this? Let's work together to kill this ferocious tiger puppet. Then, we'll compete for the godly power pearl with our own strength. One of the Jin family's prodigies suggested. All right, we agree. One of the Sun family's prodigies nodded. Then, the Jin family and Sun family looked at the Shu family. All right, we agree too. In the end, the Shu family's prodigies also agreed. All right, let's attack together. The Jin family's prodigy nodded. His body glowed as he attacked the tiger puppet. Then, the Shu family's prodigies and the Sun family's prodigies attacked together. There were more than a dozen elites from the 3 parties. There were even 8 or 9 godly kings. Their strength was extremely shocking. With so many elites attacking together, The tiger puppet was no match for them and was suppressed. Boom, boom, boom. The ground under the tiger puppet kept cracking. The tiger puppet was embedded in the ground and could not move. Although the tiger puppet's defense was strong, it could not withstand the attacks of so many people at the same time. After being attacked a few times, the tiger puppet finally could not take it anymore. Cracks appeared on its body. Everyone's eyes lit up as they attacked even more vigorously. Of course, everyone was on guard against each other. They were afraid that the other party would suddenly attack. Crack, crack tilde. The sound of porcelain cracking became more and more frequent. Dense cracks appeared on the tiger puppet's body. Finally, it exploded with a bang. Whoosh! The tiger puppet exploded, but the divine power source pearl was not damaged at all. It turned into a ray of light and rushed out. The divine power source pearl is mine. It's mine. Suddenly, everyone's eyes were filled with a burning light as they rushed toward the divine power source pearl. Die. I've been guarding against you. Furious roars rang out as the geniuses of the three clans broke out into a chaotic battle, attacking each other. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure rushed toward the divine power source pearl. It was the Shu family's prodigy. That person was wrapped in a thick layer of rock armor. He ignored his injuries and rushed toward the divine power source pearl. You're courting death. The geniuses of the Jin clan and Sun clan shouted coldly and attacked. However, the prodigy of the Shu family had an amazing defense. Many attacks landed on his rock armor, making clanging sounds and sending sparks everywhere. Of course, no matter how strong the Shu family's prodigy's defense was, he couldn't withstand so many attacks. However, he only needed to defend for a while. When the rock armor on his body exploded, he had already pounced in front of the God Power Source bead and grabbed it in his hand. Cat. The prodigy of the Shu family waved his hand, and the divine power source pearl flew towards another prodigy of the Shu family like a rainbow. The prodigy of the Shu family stretched out his hand and caught the divine power source pearl. Then, he turned around and ran. You want to leave? Stay. Damn it. The prodigies of the Jin and Sun families chased after the prodigy of the Shu family like madmen. The prodigy of the Shu family who had snatched the divine power source pearl coughed out a mouthful of blood. His body trembled, and he fell to the ground. The other two half-step divine king prodigies of the Shu family quickly flew over and caught him. Are you all right? One of them asked. I'm fine. I hope Shu Kuang can escape, the prodigy of the Shu family said. However, just as he finished speaking, a golden light slashed down from the sky. Its aura was terrifying. It slashed toward the prodigy of the Shu family, Shu Kuang. Shu Kuang was shocked. He quickly blocked the attack. A layer of rock armor also appeared on his body, wrapping around his body. The Shu family specialized in defense. However, when the golden light slashed down, Shu Kuang's rock armor was as fragile as tofu. Slash. Shu Kuang's body was cut in half, and he died on the spot. A prodigy of the first heaven of the King God realm was killed instantly. Then, a figure appeared beside Shu Kuang's corpse. He waved his hand and grabbed the divine power source pearl. Jin Xiong. It's Jin Xiong. Damn it. Whether it was the remaining prodigies of the Shu family or the Sun family, they all exclaimed in shock. Their faces were solemn. Jin Xiong was one of the 4 prodigies of the Jin family. He was at the first heaven of the King God realm. Moreover, he had awakened the divine power source. His strength was terrifying. A prodigy like him could be said to be at the top of the pyramid in this competition for the divine power source pearl. Damn the Jin family. Outside, the experts of the Shu family roared in anger. Another prodigy of the Shu family had died. They were all prodigies of the King God realm. Being able to break through to the King God realm at such a young age was rare. There were not many of them in each family. Such geniuses were the future pillars of their respective clans. But now, 2 of them had already died. They were both killed by the Jin clan. It would be strange if the experts of the Shu family were not angry. Ha ha ha, great. The experts of the Jin family laughed excitedly. The divine power source pearl had fallen into Jin Xiong's hands. Who could take it away? With Jin Xiong's strength, As long as he hid the divine power source pearl and found a place to hide, it would be easy for him to survive a month. The experts of the Jin family could already see Jin Seong awakening the secret technique of the origin from the divine power source pearl. Given Jin Seong's strength, once he awakened the secret technique of the origin, his strength would skyrocket. He would definitely shine during the Sacred Institute of the Great Void Imperial family. He might even be valued by the Sacred Emperor. Then, the Jin family would soar. In the formation, Jin Seong's face was filled with joy. He carefully looked at the divine power source pearl in his hand and wanted to keep it in his storage ring. However, in the next moment, Jin Seong's face changed. The divine power source pearl could not be kept in his storage ring. Jin Seong tried a few more storage rings, but the results were the same. Damn it! I can't keep it. Jin Seong was furious. The divine power source pearl was emitting a strange energy that spread out in all directions. If he could not keep it, it would be easily discovered by others. It would be difficult to hide it. In that case, it would be very difficult for him to survive a month. How could he not be angry? The others also looked surprised. The divine power source pearl could not be kept. Nine Sabers, you've gone too far. The voice of the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King residence sounded in Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's ears. It was extremely cold. The Nine Blades' Heavenly King must have done something to the divine power source bead to prevent it from being put away. If that was the case, it was almost impossible for the person who obtained the divine power source bead to hide and spend a month in peace. He would definitely be hunted down and robbed by others. One could imagine how intense the fighting would be later. The more intense the fighting, the deeper the conflicts between the major families. Too far. How can it be? Since it's a competition, of course, the more intense the better. Only then will it be exciting. Otherwise, do you think a treasure like the divine power source pearl is so easy to obtain? Nine Sabers' Heavenly King sneered in response. Chapter 31-32. The Nine Extremities' Heavenly King snorted coldly. The main reason was that the divine power source pearl was too tempting, especially to the young prodigies. Even if he knew about the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King's scheme, he could not stop it. Countless people present had different thoughts. In the array, Jin Seong's eyes were filled with cold murderous intent. He glanced at the Shu family and the Sun family. His eyes were cold. Since he couldn't keep the divine power source bead, he would kill everyone from the Sun family and the Shu family. That way, the news of him obtaining the divine power source bead wouldn't be leaked out so quickly, and he could delay it for a while longer. If he was lucky, he might be able to delay it for a month. You guys, delay the Sun family. I'll kill the Shu family. Jin Seong transmitted his voice to the prodigies of the Jin family. The Jin family prodigy's eyes flickered as he nodded silently. His body suddenly moved and pounced on the prodigies of the Sun family. Jin Seong turned into a golden lightning bolt and charged toward the remaining three young prodigies of the Shu family. Oh no, he's going to kill us. One of the prodigies of the Shu family was shocked. Retreat. The three prodigies of the Shu family wanted to retreat and escape. However, two of the remaining three prodigies of the Shu family were half-step divine kings. Although one of them was a divine king, he was severely injured earlier. Their speed was much slower than Jin Seong's. Jin Seong flashed and caught up with the three prodigies of the Shu family. Whoosh! Whoosh! The golden sword light slashed toward the three prodigies of the Shu family. Blood spurted out as three screams were heard. The remaining three prodigies of the Shu family were all killed. Jin family, you're courting death. I'll destroy you. Outside the array, the elites of the Shu family were enraged when they saw this. They were like mad beasts, and their eyes were bloodshot. They wanted to kill the elites of the Jin family. What are you doing? Are you rebelling? When you entered the array, you should have been prepared to be killed. If you can't afford to play, you shouldn't have sent anyone in. The Jin family leader shouted coldly, and a violent aura spread out. Boom! The auras of the Jin family leader and the Shu family leader clashed, causing huge waves. The war between the two families was on the verge of breaking out. However, at this moment, a terrifying aura pressed down on their bodies, causing the expressions of the experts from the two families to change drastically. This was because this aura came from the 9 extinction Heavenly King. Since you're going in to fight for treasures, killing is inevitable. Since you've sent people in to fight for treasures, you should be prepared to be killed. Don't bring the grudges inside to the outside world. Don't let others laugh at you, understand? The 9 extinction Heavenly King said coldly. Heavenly King is wise. The head of the Jinn family hurriedly said. Yes. The patriarch of the Shu family and the experts of the Shu family could only lower their heads. But in their hearts, they were still filled with resentment. The 9 blades Heavenly King sneered. Once the conflict was triggered, how could it be resolved with just a few words from the 9 absolute Heavenly King residents? Now, the 9 extinction Heavenly King had suppressed it, but in the future, the conflicts between the various great families would definitely not be suppressed. Damn it! At this moment, the experts of the Sun family were also very worried. Golden Elephant obviously wanted to silence them. After killing the geniuses of the Shu family, he would kill the geniuses of the Sun family. Golden Elephant, let us go. We promise that we won't tell anyone that you have the divine power source bead. At this moment, a genius of the Sun family shouted. They were all in the first heaven of the King God realm, but the difference in strength between those who had awakened their divine power source bead and those who had not was too great. If Golden Elephant wanted to kill them, it would not be difficult at all with the help of the other geniuses of the Jinn family. Swear on your life origin that you won't tell anyone. I'll let you go if you swear on your life origin that you won't tell anyone. Golden Elephant's eyes flickered a few times before he said. The Sun family had a good relationship with the Jin family and the Qin family. Back in Xingyue Ancient City, the Qin family had invited the Sun family to kill Lu Ming together. Therefore, after some consideration, Golden Elephant decided to let the Sun family go so that the relationship between the two families would not be affected. All right, we swear. The geniuses of the Sun family quickly nodded and swore on their life origin. You can go now. After the geniuses of the Sun family swore on their life origin, Golden Elephant waved his hand, signaling them to leave. The geniuses of the Sun family were overjoyed and were about to leave. However, at this moment, a terrifying whistling sound was heard. Not far away, a stone spear was flying towards the first heaven of the King God realm of the Jin family at a terrifying speed. The genius of the Jin family had relaxed after Golden Elephant had arrived. He had never thought that someone would attack him. It was too late for him to block the attack. Puff! The first heaven of the King God realm of the Jin family was pierced through the head by the stone spear. He died on the spot. Who is it? Golden Elephant was furious. He looked in the direction where the stone spear had come from. His eyes looked as if he wanted to eat someone. Swoosh! A figure flashed and a tall young man appeared in that direction. Shu Yang, it's Shu Yang. Haha, good job killing him. Outside the formation, the experts of the Shu family were overjoyed. On the other hand, the experts of the Jin family looked gloomy. A genius of the first heaven of the King God realm had been killed. Shu Yang, it's you. Golden Elephant stared at Shu Yang with cold, murderous eyes. Shu Yang glanced at the corpses of the geniuses of the Shu family. His eyes were cold as he said, Golden Elephant, you killed so many geniuses of the Shu family. I want you to pay with your blood. Boom. Shu Yang's body emitted a terrifying aura. Divine King Realm. Shu Yang's cultivation base was at the Divine King Realm. Shu Yang's cultivation base was only at the half-step Divine King Realm back in the Starry Crescent Ancient City. However, after killing Lu Ji of the Nine Sabers Heavenly King Palace, Shu Yang had gained a lot. After going into seclusion for a while, he had successfully broken through to the Divine King Realm. Shu Yang had awakened the Divine Origin gene when he was at the half-step Divine King Realm. After breaking through to the Divine King Realm, his strength had skyrocketed. So what if I killed your Shu family's people? Today, I will kill you as well. Golden Elephant shouted. He used the space-severing sword and slashed at Shu Yang. Shu Yang was not afraid at all. He condensed a stone spear in his hand and swept it towards the Golden Elephant. Clang! The space-severing sword collided with the stone spear. There was an earth-shattering roar and energy overflowed. The energy was like a wave that swept in all directions. The ground was constantly cracking under the terrifying energy. Xu Yang's body trembled and he retreated in the direction of the remaining 5 geniuses of the Jin family. "Oh no, Xu Yang, how dare you!" Golden Elephant's face changed drastically and he roared. He could tell that Xu Yang had deliberately borrowed his power to charge at the remaining geniuses of the Jin family. Xu Yang's target was the other geniuses of the Jin family. "Run!" The geniuses of the Jin family were shocked and fled in all directions. However, Xu Yang had already locked onto one of them. The stone spear pierced through. Xu Yang had borrowed the power of Golden Elephant. How fast was his speed? The power of the stone spear was even more shocking. The genius of the Jin family was also a divine king. Naturally, he was unwilling to be killed. He roared and his body shone with a golden light. He used the space-severing hand and slashed at the stone spear, hoping to block Xu Yang's attack. Chapter 31-33. The genius of the Jin family wanted to block Xu Yang's attack, but the difference in strength was too great. Clang! When Xu Ya's stone spear collided with the void-shattering hand of the Jin clan's genius, a terrifying explosion erupted. Then, the Jin clan's genius arm directly exploded. The genius of the Jin family screamed and retreated. However, Xu Yang's attack was faster. The stone spear flashed like lightning and pierced through the genius head. He died on the spot. Another genius of the first layer of the King God realm was killed. "Xu Yang, you're courting death." Jin Xiong roared and charged towards Xu Yang. However, Xu Yang didn't want to fight Jin Xiong. He took a step forward and his body shot towards the next genius of the Jin family like a cannonball. Jin Xiong was furious and chased after him. However, before Jin Xiong could catch up with Xu Yang had already caught up with the next genius of the Jin family and started attacking him like a storm. After a few moves, another genius of the Jin family was killed by Xu Yang. Damn it! Damn it! Outside, the experts of the Jin family were roaring. Their eyes were red and their hearts were aching. Previously, when Jin Xiong killed the genius of the Xu family, they were happy. Now, when the genius of the Jin family was killed, they finally understood what it meant to be heartbroken. "Ha ha ha, good kill, kill all these sons of bitches." The experts of the Xu family laughed heartily. They had finally gotten their revenge. The experts of the Xu family laughed. The experts of the Jin family gritted their teeth and wanted to fight the experts of the Xu family. Inside the formation, Xu Yang killed 3 people in a row. The other geniuses of the Jin family scattered and ran far away. At the same time, Jin Xiong caught up with Xu Yang and started attacking him fiercely. Fight! Xu Yang was very aggressive. He waved his stone spear and fought with Jin Xiong. Although Jin Xiong had broken through to the King God realm earlier than Xu Yang, his cultivation base was still in the first layer of the King God realm. Xu Yang was fearless. The two of them fought fiercely for dozens of moves, but there was no clear winner. At this moment, a rainbow light flashed in the distance. Someone was coming. The commotion caused by the battle finally attracted the attention of the other Sky Prides, who rushed over. Moreover, it wasn't just one genius from one family. There were at least 20 geniuses from several families. Jin Xiong's face immediately darkened. He still had the Divine Power Origin bead in his hand. Quick, the Divine Power Source Orb is in Jin Xiong's hands. It's in his hand. Xu Yang shouted when he saw the others arrive. The geniuses who came later immediately looked at the Golden Elephant's left hand. The Golden Elephant's left hand was still holding onto the God Power Source Pearl. It really is the Divine Power Source Orb. The moment the Sky Prides saw the God Power Source bead, their eyes burned with passion. "The Divine Power Source Orb is mine. Jin Xiong, hand over the Divine Power Source Pearl." Several loud roars rang out as at least a dozen Sky Prides pounced towards the Golden Elephant. One of them exuded a terrifying aura. This person was also a God King who had awakened his origin divine power. He was on the same level as Jin Xiong and Xu Yang. Jin Xiong's face turned ugly. If there weren't such people, he wouldn't be afraid. However, with such people and Xu Yang, he was no match for them at all. Jin Xiong immediately wanted to escape, but Xu Yang held him back. Meanwhile, the other Sky Prides had already arrived. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. More than a dozen attacks enveloped Jin Xiong. Void severing hand, void severing, Jin Xiong shouted as his body emitted a dazzling golden light. He exerted his strength to the extreme and continuously slashed out golden palm prints. However, no matter how hard Jin Xiong tried to block, he was still no match for them. His attacks were defeated and his body shook violently as he drifted backward. His face was a little pale and there was a deep wound on his chest. Jin Xiong turned around and ran without thinking. Don't let him escape. Xu Yang roared and was the first to chase after Jin Xiong. The other Sky Prides also moved and chased after Jin Xiong. Soon, they had chased for tens of thousands of miles. Jin Xiong turned into a golden light and tried his best to escape. He was thinking of countermeasures in his mind. However, in the next moment, his expression changed. A group of people appeared in the void in front of him. There were more than a dozen of them and most of them carried sabers on their backs. Obviously, these people were from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. Jin Xiong was helpless and was about to hand over the divine power source bead to save his life. However, when the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence saw the divine power source bead in Jin Xiong's hand, they looked at each other and retreated as if they were not going to participate. Jin Xiong was extremely surprised, but he did not have time to think. He flew past them and continued to escape. Xu Yang and the others chased after him. Hihi, let them kill each other first. One of the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence sneered. Outside the formation, the Nine Sabers Heavenly King's face turned ugly. Obviously, the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence had already received instructions from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence to not compete with the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. They would first let them kill each other and intensify the conflict between the various families in the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. Nine Sabers, in order to achieve your goal, you gave away a divine power source bead for free so that the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence could produce a top-notch Sky Pride. I wonder if you lost or gained. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sent a voice transmission to the Nine Sabers Heavenly King. Giving you a divine power source bead for free? Nine Sabers, you're really naive. Do you think you can take away the divine power source bead with just your people? The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sneered. Is that so? The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sneered in response, but he had a bad feeling in his heart. Within the formation, although Jin Xiong was not stopped by the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence, he did not run far before he encountered other Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. When he was surrounded, he had no choice but to throw the divine power source bead out to save his life. In the end, it naturally led to a chaotic battle. No one could get the divine power source bead in the end. As long as someone got the divine power source bead, he would be besieged by the others. The battle became more and more intense, and more Sky Prides from the various families died in the battle. Outside the formation, everyone could see clearly that many families were at loggerheads with each other. If it were not for the Nine Sabers Heavenly King suppressing the situation, some families would have broken out into a war. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King's face was full of smiles. Now, everything was going according to his plan. The conflicts between the various families in the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence were indeed getting deeper. Also, that brat who ruined my plan, I wonder if he has been killed. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King thought of Lu Ming again. Then, with a wave of his hand, the image in the sky suddenly changed. It switched from a chaotic battle to another image. There was only one person in the image, and that was Lu Ming. After Lu Ming entered the formation, he flew aimlessly. Unfortunately, he did not see the divine power source bead after a long time. This made Lu Ming speechless. Suddenly, Lu Ming stopped because there was a group of Sky Prides in front of him, blocking Lu Ming's path. They were the Sky Prides from the Nine Sabers Heavenly King residence. There were more than 10 of them, and each of them was staring coldly at Lu Ming. Chapter 31-34. A dozen supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King Mansion stood in front of Lu Ming, their eyes cold. It's that guy called Lu Ming. Haha, it's him. We are in luck. If we kill him, the Heavenly King will reward us handsomely. A few supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King Mansion spoke, their faces ferocious and excited. Swoosh, swoosh. In a flash, the supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King Mansion flew towards Lu Ming, forming an arc and surrounding Lu Ming. Cold auras locked onto Lu Ming. If Lu Ming dared to escape, they would launch a thunderous attack. Leave this kid to me. My previous battle with him is not over yet. A cold voice was heard. Then, a young man with a saber on his back stepped out, his violent aura shooting up to the sky. Lu Ming naturally knew this young man. He was the one who wanted to challenge Lu Ming after he defeated two supreme talents from the Nine Sabers' Heavenly King Mansion in a row in the Heavenly King district. This person was someone who had awakened the origin divine power factor. However, before he could fight with Lu Ming, the third prince, Nine Extremes Mu, had arrived and stopped the battle. Now that he had encountered Lu Ming, he would naturally be the first to step out and kill Lu Ming. Kid, now that no one is stopping you, I would like to see what you are capable of. The young man with a saber said coldly. A saber radiance shot up to the sky, and a vast saber power spread out in all directions. Cut the crap, let's fight. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. A long spear appeared in his hand, and with the injection of divine power, the long spear vibrated. In an instant, Lu Ming had activated the fight art, quadrupling his combat strength. His aura was powerful. Kid, remember, the one who will kill you is Duan Jiang. The young man with a saber shouted coldly. Then, a huge spear radiance shot up and slashed towards Lu Ming. The saber radiance swept across a few thousand miles, bringing with it a violent force. Its power was extremely terrifying. Moon slashing. Lu Ming let out a long howl. He waved his long spear and slashed out. A crescent-shaped spear gleam slashed out. Boom. The spear light and the saber light heavily collided, stirring up a monstrous wave of qi. Lu Ming felt a powerful force surging towards him. His figure floated backwards, while Duan Jiang's figure also swayed slightly. Use your full strength. You're still far from being able to deal with me with this level of strength. Lu Ming's disdainful voice sounded. Arrogant. Cleaving saber, slash. Duan Jiang shouted as he unsheathed the saber on his back. A shocking saber light burst out, incomparably resplendent, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. The heaven-dispelling saber could dispel the heavens. With unparalleled momentum, it slashed toward Lu Ming. This slash was several times more powerful than the previous one. Lu Ming's pupils contracted. This saber strike made him feel a trace of danger. Roar. An ancient roar came out of Lu Ming's mouth. His body grew rapidly and turned into a green-armored ancient god that was hundreds of meters tall. After transforming into a green-armored ancient god, Lu Ming's strength skyrocketed. Buzz tilde. The spear vibrated and swept out. The spear grew rapidly and was like a mountain range as it charged toward Duan Jiang. Boom. The two of them collided for the second time. The force that was released swept across a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Mountains were blasted away and exploded into pieces. The spear light and the saber light continued to vibrate. After a few breaths, the saber light shook violently and then shattered. The violent force surged toward Duan Jiang, causing him to retreat continuously. Lu Ming's figure also swayed and he retreated a few steps. However, the distance he retreated was shorter than Duan Jiang. A supreme being who has awakened his origin divine power factor is indeed powerful. Lu Ming could not help but exclaim in his heart. Although he did not use his strongest move, he had almost used his full strength. However, he only managed to gain a slight upper hand. One should know that he could easily crush a first heaven supreme being who had not awakened his origin divine power factor and possessed divine grade divine power. It could only be said that a prodigy who had awakened his origin divine power factor was much stronger than a prodigy who had not. Although Lu Ming had awakened his origin divine power factor with 2 types of divine powers, it was still not enough to make up for the difference. He could only rely on the battle character formula and ancient god body to make up for it. Unless Lu Ming had awakened his origin divine power factor with 5 to 7 types of divine powers, he could make up for the difference. After all, Lu Ming's cultivation was too low. Both of them had awakened their origin divine power factor. How could a 7th heaven god be compared to a 1st heaven supreme being? Lu Ming exclaimed. However, he did not know how shocked Duan Jiang and the prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents were. How is this possible? He's only a 7th heaven god. How can he be so powerful? Duan Jiang roared in his heart. He could not remain calm. A 7th heaven god was able to slightly suppress him. He was extremely shocked. Even the strongest prodigy of the War God clan, the one who could lead the War God clan to prosperity, was not this powerful. I don't believe it. Kill, kill. Duan Jiang yelled and unleashed his divine force to the maximum. He executed a terrifying secret technique and slashed continuously with his saber. His saber glow turned into ferocious tigers that charged at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was fearless. He charged forward with his spear and counterattacked. Bang, bang, bang. The two exchanged blows in the air. At first, Duan Jiang was still able to fight a fierce battle with Lu Ming. However, after a dozen moves, Duan Jiang was no match for him. He was at a disadvantage and kept backing away. Outside the array, countless people saw this scene and fell into a daze. They were shocked by Lu Ming's strength. This kid, the 9 Sabers Heavenly King murmured. He could not hide the astonishment in his eyes. Even the 9 Sabers Heavenly King was shocked, let alone the others. The patriarch of the Jin family, the patriarch of the Winged Man clan, and the others were extremely gloomy. They prayed in their hearts that the prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents could kill Lu Ming. Duan Jiang, today is not the time to fight one-on-one. Killing this kid is our top priority. At that moment, another prodigy of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents said coldly. That's right. Let's join forces and kill him before anything else happens. The other prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents chimed in. Clang, clang. Then, they unsheathed their sabers. Saber radiance burst out and stirred up the void. Kill. At that moment, Lu Ming suddenly yelled and changed his direction. He thrust his spear at the prodigy of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents. Although he was fighting with Duan Jiang, he was aware of the movements of the other prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents. Since they wanted to join forces to kill him, he made a prompt decision to strike first. He immediately executed his strongest move, the exploding star. The huge spear radiance rushed toward the crowd of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents and exploded. It formed a destructive wave that swept toward the prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents. Oh no, retreat, block it. The prodigies of the 9 Sabers Heavenly King residents did not expect Lu Ming to react so quickly. They had not even made a move yet, but Lu Ming had already launched a counterattack. They were shocked. Some of them retreated while others tried to block the attack. However, given Lu Ming's current cultivation, the exploding star was extremely terrifying. It was not something that ordinary people could block. Chapter 31-35. The destructive waves formed by the exploding stars swept out. Instantly, more than a dozen supreme talents from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King mansion were engulfed. Instantly, screams were heard. Some of the supreme talents who had yet to reach the supreme god realm were torn apart by the destructive energy and died on the spot. In an instant, 7 supreme talents from the 9 Sabers Heavenly King mansion were killed. The other supreme talents who had reached the supreme god realm were also forced to retreat. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and their bodies were tattered and covered with wounds. Among the crowd, only one youth was unharmed. He was a youth in a fiery red robe. He slashed out a scorching saber radiance and blocked Lu Ming's attack. You are courting death. The youth in the fiery red robe roared furiously. His killing intent was extremely cold. It was definitely a great loss to have so many supreme talents killed in one move. Swoosh! The youth in the fiery red robe slashed out with his saber. A fiery saber radiance slashed towards Lu Ming. The terrifying heat was about to burn the space. The youth in the fiery red robe was also a terrifying supreme talent. He was no weaker than Duan Jiang and had also awakened the origin divine power factor. Ice chains. Lu Ming's heart jolted. 9 ice chains flew out and intertwined with each other to form a wall in front of him. The fiery saber radiance slashed the wall formed by the ice chains, causing them to vibrate violently. Roar! Roar! On the other side, Duan Jiang also launched an attack. His saber radiance formed ferocious tigers that pounced on Lu Ming. Every inch of this kind of ferocious tiger's body was made up of tiny saber gleams. Its power was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming dared not be careless. He cast the Divine Dragon aspect art and condensed 15 9-clawed Divine Dragons, which pounced on the ferocious tigers. The two sides fought fiercely. However, Lu Ming could not stop Duan Jiang and the youth in the red robe with just the ice chains and the Divine Dragon image. Rumble. First, the ice chains could not withstand the attacks and began to break apart. Divine Flame Saber. The youth in the red robe roared. The scorching saber radiance was even more terrifying. It pierced through the ice chains and charged towards Lu Ming. Moon slashing. Lu Ming charged forward with his spear and clashed with the youth. Boom. A dull explosion rang out in the sky. Lu Ming had blocked the opponent's attack, but his body trembled and he retreated continuously. He felt as if his body was enveloped by a sharp flame that could burn him to ashes at any time. Lu Ming continuously released his divine power before he was able to block this ball of flames. On the other side, Duan Jiang also broke through the obstruction of the Divine Dragon Dharma idol and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was no match for the siege of the two geniuses. Against one of them, Lu Ming could barely suppress the other party if he tried his best. However, against two such geniuses, Lu Ming was no match for them. Die. Kill. The red-robed young man and Duan Jiang both shouted as they executed their ultimate moves, charging towards Lu Ming, completely sealing off Lu Ming's escape route. Moon slaying, divine power surged continuously into Lu Ming's body through the quantification formula. Lu Ming's long spear slashed out continuously as he fought with the other party. In the blink of an eye, both sides had exchanged more than a dozen blows, but Lu Ming was still no match for them. His body trembled as he retreated continuously. He was completely suppressed. Sizzling sounds could be heard from Lu Ming's body. That was the result of the red-robed youth's divine flame saber landing on his body. Even the 9-layered crimson gold armor could not withstand it and would be burned through. Hey, this kid is dead meat. Outside the formation, the 9 sabers Heavenly King chuckled. Previously, Lu Ming had killed 7 of the 9 sabers Heavenly King residence's sky prides in one move, which made the 9 sabers Heavenly King's face turn ugly. Now that he saw Lu Ming in a critical situation, he finally smiled. Not necessarily. The 9 sabers Heavenly King said coldly. Then let's wait and see. The 9 sabers Heavenly King sneered. At this moment, Lu Ming and Duan Jiang had exchanged a few more blows. Exploding star. Lu Ming suddenly thrust out his spear, and a spear radiance burst out and exploded. Exploding star could be said to be Lu Ming's strongest move. Its power was astonishing, and the terrifying destructive force directly blasted Duan Jiang back. Lu Ming's figure flashed and took the opportunity to escape from the encirclement. Don't go. If you have the guts, let's fight to the death. Duan Jiang and the red-robed young man roared. Who said I'm leaving? Lu Ming stood in the air with his spear in hand. His aura was violent, and he had no intention of retreating. Lu Ming still had a trump card that he had not used, which was the quintuple combat strength increase of the battle character art. Lu Ming had just comprehended the quintuple combat strength increase of the battle character art, and the success rate of triggering it was extremely low, only 1 in 50. Once it was triggered successfully, Lu Ming's strength would skyrocket, and he would not be afraid of Duan Jiang and the red-robed young man. As Lu Ming spoke, he kept triggering the battle character art, hoping to trigger it successfully. It's best if you don't leave, Duan Jiang shouted. Just as he was about to rush towards Lu Ming, his face suddenly changed. He looked behind Lu Ming, and the red-robed young man did the same. Lu Ming also sensed something strange behind him. He released his spiritual senses and discovered that some figures were flying toward him at high speed. Obviously, the battle here had alerted the other sky prides nearby. There were about a dozen people, and they were extremely fast. In a few moments, they appeared 1,000 miles behind Lu Ming and stopped. They are from the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. Duan Jiang and the red-robed young man's faces darkened. The people behind them were the sky prides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. In their opinion, the sky prides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace would naturally help Lu Ming. Now that Lu Ming had a helper, it would be difficult to kill Lu Ming today. Everyone, this person has killed many of our experts. We must avenge him. I hope you won't interfere. Duan Jiang looked at the people behind Lu Ming and said, "Don't interfere." No, no, no. Behind Lu Ming, a young man shook his head, causing Duan Jiang's face to turn gloomier. However, the young man suddenly changed the topic and said, "Since you want to kill Lu Ming, we want to kill him too. So, let's join forces." What? Duan Jiang and the red-robed young man were stunned by his words. Lu Ming's face did not change. Everything was within his expectations. Because the people behind them were old acquaintances of Lu Ming. These people were divided into 2 groups. They were the sky prides of the Winged Man family and the Qin family. Lu Ming smiled bitterly in his heart. It seemed like he was really unlucky. There were the sky prides of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace in front of him, and now there were the Winged Man family and the Qin family. This Lu Ming has a blood feud with our 2 families. He must die. A young man from the Winged Man family added. This person flapped his wings, emitting streaks of lightning. He was also a terrifying expert. I see. Ha ha ha. Great. Let's join forces and turn this person into ashes. Duan Jiang laughed. His saber aura surged and the saber radiance was shocking. He slashed at Lu Ming. At the same time, the red-robed young man also attacked. He slashed at Lu Ming with his divine flame saber. Kill. Behind them, the sky prides of the Winged Man family and the Qin family attacked together, bursting out terrifying attacks. Dozens of attacks blasted toward Lu Ming from all directions. Their power was extremely shocking. Chapter 31-36. The Sky Pride of the 9 Blades Heavenly King Mansion, the Qin family and the Winged Man family teamed up and launched dozens of attacks at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned solemn. Ice chains, 9 layers of crimson golden armor, sky-piercing. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming unleashed various means. The ice chain and the 9 layers of crimson gold armor protected his entire body. At the same time, the long spear stabbed madly. In an instant, dozens of spear gleams pierced in all directions. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's face changed drastically. His attacks were crushed by the 4 terrifying forces and exploded continuously. Boom! Boom! The 4 attacks pierced through Lu Ming's defense and sent Lu Ming flying as he coughed out mouthfuls of blood. Origin Divine Force Factor, Lu Ming muttered under his breath with a solemn face. He realized that the Winged Man family and the Qin family each had a first-layer Divine King Realm Sky Pride who had awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor. Including Duan Jiang and the red-robed youth, there were 4 of them. There were 4 Sky Prides of this level. 2 of them teamed up and Lu Ming was no match for them. 4 of them teamed up and Lu Ming was no match for them. Seems like it's easier to awaken one's Origin Divine Force Factor after reaching the Divine King Realm. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He didn't believe that all of them had awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor when they were below the Divine King Realm. The lower one's cultivation, the harder it was to awaken their Origin Divine Force Factor. There were so many Sky Prides in the Universal Camp, but only a few could awaken their Origin Divine Force Factor when they were below the Divine King Realm. But now, Lu Ming had encountered 4 in a short while. Most of them had awakened their Origin Divine Force after breaking through to the Divine King Realm. After breaking through to the Divine King realm, one's origin divine force would increase tremendously and their understanding of it would also increase. Some of the half-step Divine King realm skyprides who had awakened their origin divine force factor at 99% would have a higher chance of awakening their origin divine force factor after breaking through to the Divine King realm. Duan Jiang and the red-robed youth's eyes lit up when they realized that the Winged Man family and the Qin family had such experts. "Kid, let's see how you're going to die. Kill." Duan Jiang roared as he charged towards Lu Ming. At the same time, the other skyprides also attacked. "Retreat." Lu Ming executed the Nine Heavens Garuda technique and rapidly retreated. At the same time, he constantly activated the battle formula. However, his luck wasn't good. The battle incantation's quintuple combat power hadn't been triggered yet. "You want to leave? Today, you must die." That genius from the Winged Clan who had awakened his quintessence Godforce snorted coldly. With a flap of his wings, his body transformed into a bolt of lightning as he shot out with astonishing speed. The Thunder-Winged Man cultivated the God power and awakened the God power origin. Everything was related to thunder and lightning. Once the Thunder-Winged Man burst out, his speed was terrifying. Moreover, he had the cultivation of the first sky of King God realm. Thus, he was much faster than Lu Ming. After a few flashes, he caught up with Lu Ming. "Lightning cage!" the youth from the Winged Clan coldly shouted. His wings flapped, and boundless lightning erupted, forming a cage that enveloped Lu Ming within. Lu Ming brandished his spear and struck the lightning cage. But the lightning cage only shook. It would be difficult to break it in a short period of time. The attacks of the others had also arrived. Lu Ming could only defend with all his might. However, against four geniuses like Duan Jiang and the support of other geniuses, Lu Ming was in danger. He was no match for them at all. Although he tried his best to defend himself, he couldn't completely block them. Bang! A terrifying fist energy struck Lu Ming's body. It was the seven-injuring fist of the Qin clan's genius. Its destructive power was astonishing. Lu Ming's body was sent flying, crashing into the lightning cage. The lightning cage exploded and Lu Ming spurted out blood from his mouth. This scene was witnessed by the people outside the array. "Hehe, this kid is finally going to be killed. Die, die." The people from the Jin clan, Winged Clan, and Qin clan were roaring in their hearts. Facing such a situation, they didn't believe that Lu Ming would be able to survive. The Nine Sabers Heavenly King sneered. He looked at the Nine Sabers Heavenly King and sneered, "Nine Sabers Heavenly King, looks like your people aren't united at all." "Haha. Humph." The Nine Sabers Heavenly King's face was cold and he didn't answer. The Wu clan and some people who were close to Lu Ming were worried. "Is such a talented genius going to die today?" Someone whispered. Lu Ming's talent had shocked most of the people. Now that they saw that Lu Ming was at risk of dying, many of them felt it was a pity. At this moment, Lu Ming was indeed in a precarious situation. After the first wave of attacks, the second wave of attacks came immediately. "Trigger, trigger, damn it," Lu Ming roared in his heart. At this moment, it was difficult for the battle formula to trigger 5 times combat strength. One of the reasons was that the probability of the battle formula triggering 5 times combat strength was low. Another reason was that he couldn't trigger it wholeheartedly because of the continuous attacks from the others. "I can't die, starburst, starburst," Lu Ming roared in his heart. His eyes were ferocious as he continuously used the starburst technique. Now, he could only rely on himself to fight for the divine power source speed. Naturally, he couldn't rely on external forces. Therefore, Cho naturally couldn't follow Lu Ming. Lu Ming could only rely on himself. Continuously using the starburst technique could only temporarily stop the other party. Lu Ming's crisis wasn't over yet. Heaven Dispelling Blade, Thunder Slash, 7 Injuries Divine Fist, Divine Flame Battle Blade. The 4 strongest skyprides unleashed their strongest attacks, destroying the destructive power of the starburst technique and charging towards Lu Ming. "Block it!" Lu Ming shouted. The divine power in his body circulated crazily, squeezing out all of his divine power and raising his condition to the extreme. Boom! At this moment, in the face of danger, Lu Ming's mind seemed to have exploded. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly calmed down. Lu Ming became extremely calm as if he had entered an ethereal state. The ethereal state of life and death. Under the threat of death, Lu Ming once again touched upon this mysterious and profound state. In this realm, Lu Ming suddenly had a new understanding of the various divine skills, secret skills, and various kinds of divine powers that he had cultivated. Especially regarding the sovereign's divine power. Under Blue Merchant's guidance, Lu Ming's understanding of the sovereign's divine power was the deepest. He had already reached the peak of the first awakening. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have touched upon something within the sovereign's divine power essence. He seemed to have seen a door within the sovereign's divine power essence. Yes, it was a door, an ancient stone door. It was incomparably huge and exuded a boundless aura. Lu Ming could sense a terrifying power from this stone door. He tried to approach the stone door, and to his surprise, he succeeded. He touched the edge of the stone door. At this moment, he also had a feeling that he could borrow the power of this stone door. Boom! A violent explosion rang out, and Lu Ming's mind cleared. He had left the ethereal state of life and death. Meanwhile, the attacks from all directions were coming at him from all directions. At this moment, Lu Ming instinctively activated his sovereign's divine power without hesitation. A stone door appeared above his head. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.